What makes the Avengers so great? The first team-up movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the conclusion to Phase 1 in the ever-so outstanding universe building. The first Avengers movie is not only a staple in comic book media, but also in film history. But what makes this film so enjoyable? Because if Marvel Studios got this one wrong, then we would be talking about a completely different timeline where the MCU isn't as expanded as it is today. So we're here to talk about the beauty of this film and how it was able to hit home with comic book fans and moviegoers all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Multiversal Knight, and let's dive back in time to May 4th, 2012 and rewatch The hype for this film back then was just unreal in 2012. I never truly saw the movie when it originally came out. I'm going to be honest here, I saw it more so in my high school years when I was a teenager. But just the idea to my second grade self that 6 heroes could come together and save the universe, I had different forms of action figures and combined them together just so I can have my own Avengers. It was kind of cute for a little kid. And I just remember Googling stills from the movie and just staring at them and imagining what was taking place. And this one was my favorite just because, as I mentioned before, huge Captain America fan, but my brother a huge Iron Man fan. So I immediately get flashbacks to that one Lego Marvel Superheroes mission where one player plays Iron Man, the other one plays Captain America, and you invade Stark Tower. This still just captured everything for me. When I look back, I remember the excitement, mostly because they had the toys like I mentioned, and I cannot explain how badly I wanted this 8-pack. It literally brought everyone from the movie and everyone you would need to let your imagination run wild. I did, for some reason, I think from Goodwill, have the Hulk figure, but I never had the complete set. And hopefully that's a good enough transition to my first point of what makes this film so great. The characters. I've said it since the beginning of this series with Iron Man. The characters and the side characters, the main characters, all the characters have made the MCU such an enjoyable watch. And it's no different here. Obviously, like every movie, you're going to have some writing, and some characters are like, does it really need to do that? Like here, there's one thing that I really find iffy and that I kind of laughed at and was a little confused. It's when Captain America is having this whole military feel to him, and he says this to Tony. Which, knowing what modern Steve Rogers would be in like his later appearances in the MCU, is a weird way to go about Coulson's death. Which, I need to get this out now. No! Okay, back to it. There's just some writing that feels kind of very stereotypical in some way, if that makes sense. Like Cap being this militaristic feel, and then Thor really kind of digging into the Shakespearean aspect of his character. But I feel like it really works, especially the way they bounce off one another when they banter and then when they work together. It's a pretty special conclusion in my opinion. And I mean, every character has a chance to shine. Going in, I thought it would be Clint and Natasha were definitely going to be either be sidelined or their moments would just carry on for too long. But no, their moments don't feel forced at all and are a natural float to the story in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people point towards Thor when it's a character that his arc kind of just feels like it stalls the story. And I mostly think that's just because in Age of Ultron it did feel like that. But here it just makes sense. I don't know. I really like Thor in this movie. I will say at the start of the battle against the Chitauri, he's asked to figure out how to get through the Tesseract shield and then is just everywhere. He joins the Hulk and fight in. He's on a Chitauri little one of those speeders in the air. Then he's helping Cap down below, saving civilians. He's obviously showing a display of strength, with Mjolnir and then the lightning. But I think his strong suit is early on in the movie because he is the only one who knows Loki and his plan going in. But then again, once the battle starts, he's kind of all over the place without any true direction. Unlike everyone else, the Hulk is Hulk smash, not really the same for Thor. I don't think his character is wasted in any way because he does display that strong power set. I just feel like the writers just didn't know where to turn in terms of the Battle of New York with Thor.
Listen well, brother. I'm listening.
Speaking of Hulk smash, this is the best representation of Bruce Banner and the Hulk, in my opinion. It carries over the personality set by Edward Norton's Hulk, and it plays very well off the other Avengers. He understands what he is. He's cautious because not only does he not want to hurt anyone, but he also doesn't want to be kept in a cell forever. He has this anxiety that S.H.I.E.L.D. only wants him there so they can contain him, and he has the right to feel that. I also really love at the beginning where he fakes out like he's about to Hulk out in front of Natasha, because it just shows this like intelligence on the field of like, I know what you're thinking, I know you're scared of me, and I really enjoy that. Like I mentioned earlier, Natasha and Clint are great. Clint does spend most of his time under Loki's control, but once he gets his mind back, he gets his get back on the Asgardian in a very cool way.
Ooh.
And Black Widow is so good in this film. And the point where she's introduced in the film and then where she's talking to Loki, in both moments I thought she was genuinely in trouble or scared. But no, she's just doing spy stuff. And man, it was awesome because it had me fooled both times. And I've seen this film before. Steve, like I said, definitely has the stereotypical military comic Captain America vibe, but I feel like it works here, especially when he's handing out roles. It's the character growth through the MCU. It wasn't going to be through one movie. And I like that in the heat of battle, instead of making Cap leap building from building and being there in front of the Tesseract, he stays on the ground to help out. A true leader. He recognizes everyone else is able to do more in other places. I like that. Switching hands here, Loki is a great villain, and although his motive is kind of the same in Thor, this one, and Thor the Dark World, a little bit in Thor Ragnarok, it works. Tom Hiddleston is one of the castings that works so well, and his banter with Thor is some of the best. Their little brotherly relationship moments give Thor more of the motive and purpose, and that's what I meant earlier with Thor earlier in the movie, especially that part where he's like, come back to Asgard with me. It just hits as an older brother looking at a younger brother. And on the plus side, Loki is threatening. His helicarrier plan works. He played chess when the Avengers were playing checkers, and he got them to feel defeated and split up. Just a great villain. I feel like the best written character in this movie was Nick Fury, in the way that he was a scene stealer in this film. And I really love that they are on the side with the Avengers. They still have blood on their hands. And the Avengers recognize that. Maria Hill saying that Coulson's no cards were in the locker and not on his corpse is sickening to kind of think about, but it works. He knows how to operate these heroes and give them that motivation to push them. And finally, Iron Man proves he can be that hero in this film. I've always felt that Tony has had this anxiety outside of traveling into the wormhole. It definitely gets amplified in this film after he travels into space, but I feel like that ties into my next point, is that it truly connects the universe in Phase 1. The past 5 films I've looked at and reviewed, I've tried reviewing them not being connected to the universe unless it's clearly obvious that the only reason the film really exists is to build forth the future of the MCU. Films like The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2, which as standalone films are okay to good, they become stronger films because of what they build forward to. You could put Edward Norton in Mark Ruffalo's spot, and again, it's the same character as I mentioned before, but the representation, it makes me appreciate Edward Norton's Hulk a little more watching him interact with the Avengers, thinking of what could have been. The movie adds more characterization to Black Widow. I feel like in Iron Man 2, she was kind of a boring slate, even when she's revealed to be a secret spy for S.H.I.E.L.D. And definitely in Iron Man 2, she was very, very over-sexualized, kind of building into the whole Tony Stark, and especially, you know, him in the comics. It makes sense. I mean, the guy dated Emma Frost. It builds off Tony's legacy arc from the first Iron Man film. It adds to the issue of out-of-world beings showing up on Earth from Thor, and it connects the learning arc that Steve is still ongoing, waking up 70 years later after diving into the ice. And I think that's another reason why this film is so great. It literally improves the viewing experience for the previous 5 films in Phase 1 and makes them a much more enjoyable experience, in my opinion. And again, it connects and closes Phase 1 of the universe, and it kind of sets in stone for the next 3 films, kind of the tone, the quality, before we really get off-world in 2014. But along with this connection with the universe, there's an emotional turn, as the most consistent character we've seen in most of Phase 1 is Phil Coulson, and he dies in such a sad way. The emotion behind Nick Fury's eyes as he watches his top agent take his last breath. And it's really nice that he is the turning point for the Avengers, as he did believe in them. Oh, one of the saddest deaths in the MCU. You have to love it, but hate it at the same time. This film is special and a true marker in comic book movie history and also film history in general. Marvel was on the uprise with good to great to okay films, but this film boomed Marvel into the film mainstream media. So what makes the Avengers great? Everything. Every aspect of the film. The interactions, the action, the growth, the team up, the villain, the characters, every single thing. I do not know how you can watch this movie and come out of it upset, angry. This movie is everything, the culmination of Phase 1. And I feel like Marvel is starting to backpedal into this era. Thunderbolts gave a really close feel to how the first Avengers movie felt. Fantastic Four First Steps, another film about teaming up, and it just worked. It felt like the first Avengers movie, and you gotta love that the MCU is turning back to these classic stories and the way they do their storytelling, because it works in such an effective way. So my last point is, there is no MCU if there isn't the Avengers. Thank you for watching this breakdown of Marvel's The Avengers, one of the greatest films in my opinion, and one that will forever be embedded in film history. Tune in next week as we take a look at the conclusion of the Iron Man series with Iron Man 3. Yet another polarizing Iron Man film, but one that I feel like gets a little too much hate, if I'm being honest. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Multiversal Knight, and I will see all of your beautiful, lovely faces next week. Take care and wear your seatbelt. Bye-bye.